The John Lennon Family Album, The Lost Liverpool Tapes, written by Geoffrey Giuliano, narrated by Geoffrey Giuliano.
During another of her husband's extended stints abroad, a very pregnant Julia Lennon packed her tiny suitcase and checked into the maternity hospital in Oxford Street. Just after 7 o'clock the next morning, on October 9th, 1940, with Liverpool under heavy bombing from the Nazis, John Winston Lennon was born. John quickly grew into a very clever, dreamy little boy. By the time John was 3 years old, Freddie and Julia had called it quits, and John went to live with his Auntie Mimi Smith and Uncle George in Woolton. Julia had met another man by the name of John Dykins, says Mimi. Taking John would have been very difficult for her, so I offered to look after him myself. Leela Harvey, John's first cousin, was perhaps Lennon's closest friend and confidant up until the age of 15. She remembers the controversy surrounding John's earliest days.
Mimi said to her, and I was in the room, and Mimi will not deny it, "You are not fit to have this child." She wanted to take John to live with Bobby there. And he said, "No, you're not." And Mimi wanted him. He was a very sweet little boy, very cute, very pretty, as you can see his photograph there. And she wanted him. Mimi didn't have children. She said, "No, you're not having him. You're not fit to have this boy," because she would have gone with somebody else. And he stayed there.
In an exclusive 1986 conversation between Paul McCartney and John's younger sister Julia Baird, Paul recalled the much misunderstood Auntie Mimi.
At first you might think a bit cantankerous, a bit sort of cantankerous, but she wasn't. She had a twinkle with it. She was one of these women, as I say, just good and forthright. I like that in women. I like them to stand up for themselves,
John's first school was Dovedale Primary. He was a cheerful boy, full of fun and mischief, who impressed both schoolmates and teachers with his natural leadership and naughty sense of adventure. He was also quite creative. By the age of 7, he was even writing his own books. One of them, Sport, Speed, and Illustrated, edited by J.W. Lennon, contained a witty collection of poems, caricatures, and short stories that hinted at his talent as a writer with a keen sense of the absurd. Lennon's sister Julia comments on John as a big brother.
Very noisy, bouncing up and down, very good with the girls. That's me and my sister. He was just a brother hanging around the house, really.
When he was just 12, John left Dovedale for Quarrybank Grammar School, just a mile or so away from his auntie's house on Menlove Avenue. John's years at Quarrybank were characterized by the consistent academic failure and random creative achievement of a young man struggling with the seed of genius sown in the soil of middle-class conformity. Shortly after the death of John's Uncle George in 1953, his mother Julia re-entered his life. Although John heard very little about her whereabouts over the years, he often wondered about her and secretly wished he could see her again. Then, when he found out that she lived just a few short miles away in Allerton with her common-law husband John Dykins, whom John preferred to call Twitchy, and their daughters Julia and Jackie, he was thrilled. Once again, Paul looks back at John's relationship with his charismatic mother Julia.
I always thought she was a very beautiful lady and a really nice woman, and I know John absolutely adored her. One, obviously on the level that she was his mum, so he just was totally bonded to her, for that. But also because she was like a very beautiful woman and a very spirited woman, as I say, we were talking before, she taught him banjo. It's very sort of gay in the old sense of the word.
Yeah.
She's very lively, a very fun person, very lively woman. I remember her long red hair. I remember her being sort of very good looking, as I say. Full of life, yeah.
Julia encouraged John in whatever he
Sample complete. Ready to continue?